Y'all know one another?
No. I mean, know him from, yeah.
Oh, okay. Ricky Hall?
No, we met several times. Yeah, Rick Robbins. Probably not formally met, yeah. How you get home?
Running for sheriff.
Yeah.
I think we can't block that door.
You never had that long before. What, is this something you starting a new thing?
No,
Trying to set up a new
today.
setup?
Just today.
Okay. What's
We
going
can go
on?
back a little bit, just to back up to the top. That, you know.
Is anybody gonna be sitting up there?
No.
Yeah, if anybody sitting up there, that's what I do. Go back about another foot.
Yeah, but we don't wanna block out Steve right there.
Okay, we're doing fine. Thanks so much for calling.
Which side of the table they gonna be sitting on?
Outside.
Okay, yeah, so you can't go, you probably gonna end up, like you say, maybe have to take a leg out over here. You may not have no option.
Well, I tell you, but we'll just end it right here.
That's what I'm saying,
Turn it
yeah.
around. Yeah, and that way that'll give them enough space.
Or you can just, cut it in like this. I mean, do you have to have a perfect square? You want a perfect square?
I did one.
Okay, I get you more than
Yeah.
enough room. You still got enough room.
I asked him, he said he did.
Okay. This is a purpose for this square.
Yeah, we're not gonna do it the way we usually do it. We're gonna have the two speakers do their 5 minutes, and then we're gonna have, since everybody has an opinion on this task.
Oh, okay.
Give them 1 minute
Okay,
to say what
okay.
you want to
All right.
say.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
They've never had that much independence. I can say what I wanna say.
We start all those chairs, you know, chairs behind all that stuff.
Mhm. Now, is Thomas gonna have, check and see if Thomas is gonna have enough room to speak, play.
You gotta come behind here, right?
Yes, but his can be at an angle.
You guys finish the tables and then I'll leave that.
And you'll do piano, okay, thanks, Steve.
Say again, we got.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
And if push comes to shove, we can put some chairs along that, right here, and not block the coffin.
Okay, but you live in this open, you wanna close?
We're always gonna be open.
You said open, I'm saying close to the
Yes,
right.
yes.
Put some of these, put this table back.
Oh, that's the Good morning. Yes. Oh my goodness. Who am I talking to? My mic is hot. This is Pat Cannon. He says the mic is hot. He can hear what I'm saying in here.
timekeeper here who will let you know when your minute is, you have about, how many seconds? 5 seconds. When you have a few seconds, and we ask you to just wrap it up. Because we have some people that are scared to want to continue to talk, but we're trying to do this as orderly as we possibly can and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to share.
And with that, option, you could pass, but like I said, I think most folk have, would like to say something. Those of you who are sitting outside the table, you'll have an opportunity to speak, but it would just be a whole lot better if you sat around the table so that we can just pass the mic from one person to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, to the next person.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, I know you work in this building.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. We're so happy to have you here today. I'm Jackie Edwards Walton, one of the conveners of the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. And we have the other co-facilitator, Laura McClady. We also have a facilitator, Mary Johns, and Natalie McAlrath. We have our musician, Thomas Moore, our scribe and tech savvy one, Steve Johnston, and the others are not here right now. What we're going to do is we're going to open up with prayer.
Good morning. On the way in this morning, like I do most mornings if I'm going out, it's the time when I turn the radio off and I have the time to reflect. And on the way in this morning, it made me think about a situation that happened 70 years ago in Montgomery, Alabama, where they were wrestling with the transportation issue back then, but it was different circumstances. But the difference is that in Montgomery, it became a national issue, and now we're thrust into the national spotlight once again, even though it may be a little different subject matter. But it made me think about the book of James, chapter 1, verse 19, where it says, "Be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath." And that's my prayer this morning, that we be good listeners of the information. Thank to the facilitators, Ms. Jocelyn and Mr. Ishmael, who took the time to come and actually put themselves on full display this morning to share information about this transit tax. So let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this opportunity once again to come together as a community to conduct the affairs of our city, Lord. We are thankful to those that thought it not robbery to give their time to come out this morning. Lord, we ask that the discussions that are held this morning will be fruitful, produce good fruit, Lord, and it will be for the betterment of our community. Thank you, Lord, for the speakers that offer themselves up to public display this morning. And most of all, let's thank the facilitators of this great forum that give generously of their time each and every Tuesday to bring fruitful information, productive information, to help us to grow and educate us all as a community. This is my prayer. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. For those who may not know, the Tuesday Forum, we meet about more than 45 times a year. We've been meeting for more than 45 years. And we hope that you can join us as many times as you can. We're going to ask that you silence your phones, lower the volume. The only time you may need them is if you're timing yourself when you speak. We're going to do this a little differently today in that we will have our two speakers, Jocelyn Nolly with the Black Political Caucus of Mecklenburg County, and with Ishmael Kwakim, who is Kai M. He told me that. Kai M, who's with the House and Justice Coalition here in Mecklenburg County. And I invited the two of them several weeks ago. We had no idea where they would fall for or against the 1 cent transit tax. And in the case of the caucus, they made their endorsement last Thursday, and it became public yesterday? Yes. Became public yesterday. So I have no idea what they're going to say. But the process today will be that they will speak for 4 to 5 minutes. Then we will have question and answers. And if y'all will take about 30 seconds to ask your question. And we do ask that you be considerate in asking your questions. If you need to write your questions down, as I said to some of you earlier, we have sheets and we have pens. Please stick to the time frame, 30 seconds. There's, of course, no debate going back and forth. And if our speakers, if you will answer your questions in about 1 minute, okay? And then we'll do that until about 9:15. And from 9:15, we'll go around the table, passing around the mic, and you share what you feel about the transit tax. And you'll hear information here. And many of you, I know you've been to forums, so you know most of the information. And they may share a lot of it here today. Are there any questions as to the process for today? All right, I look forward to our going through this. All right, we'll get started. If y'all just share, if you will just share the mic, okay?
Good morning. My name is Jocelyn Jones Nolly, and I am the chairperson of the Black Political Caucus of Charlotte-Mecklenburg. My goal here today is to help you understand how our organization came to our decision. I will not be able to share some of the details that happened in our meeting because I am a huge advocate of what happens at my house stays in my house. And so there are some things that help, that we discuss as a body that I will have to keep confidential. There are several members, I look around, I see several members of the organization here in this room. So I want to thank you for being a member of the caucus and all of the work that you do to move us forward. I don't profess to be an expert on the referendum. I, like yourselves, have been to many presentations. I have seen discussions in both for the referendum and against the referendum. I am only here to discuss how my organization, what we consider as the Black Political Caucus, and I will say this, that we have members, and I want to make this very clear, we have members that are for and against the referendum. However, I am here speaking on behalf of the collective body of the organization that voted to support the referendum. So I say all that to say to kind of level the playing field, to have you understand who I am and what I'm here to discuss. So again, I will not inflict my personal opinion because I don't do that as the chair of an organization. I serve at the will of the body, and that is who I represent today. Okay, so I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello. First and foremost, I just want to say it's an honor to be here and to be invited to speak at the forum, and I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. My name is Ishmael Kayem. I am a core member of the Housing Justice Coalition. We are an organization here in Charlotte dedicated to the realization of housing as a human right. That means that we are concerned with displacement, with gentrification, and the disappearance of historically African American and also working class communities. I myself grew up here in Charlotte. I went to Harding University High School. I am a practicing attorney, and my practice also involves a lot of issues of housing and civil litigation. But again, I look forward to a fruitful conversation, and it is from our position as the Housing Justice Coalition, we are against this referendum, and we strongly urge all of you to vote against it as well.
Thank you. We, in the caucus, we had a special ad hoc committee that reviewed the referendum, and they came up with six pillars that we thought were important to our organization, and our approach was simple. We had 6 pillars that we came to consensus with the folks in the committee. We had questions about our pillars, we needed answers, and we received answers. We presented our questions to business and civic leaders and our elected officials. Our first question was around education and workforce alignment. We wanted to know, how will the transit expansion be aligned with CMS? So for those of you who have students that are school age, you're aware that CMS has several magnet schools and also early college choices for children. One of the things that we wanted a guarantee about was that, will these new transit schedules align with CMS? So children, our children, Black children, can get to magnet schools. can get to their early college programs. And we got confirmation that that is something that that this program will work towards. So we are very proud of the gains that we made in our education space. I'm sorry, I'm speaking from my notes here. The next pillar that we talked about, and this is something that my neighbor here is very passionate about, and so are we, preventing displacement. We need answers. What new and expanded protections, included dedicated funds, will be committed to preserving history and preventing Black and low-income families and businesses from being displaced by transit-driven development? We asked those questions. We got some answers, but not enough. And we have also aligned ourselves with committing to work on preventing displacement. The next question where we needed answers from was about community resources. How will transit expansion be leveraged to improve food access, healthcare, essential services, and infrastructure? The fourth pillar was small businesses and jobs. What enforceable targets will be set to guarantee Black and minority and women-owned business real participation, including access to contracts, capital, and bonding support? Our fifth pillar was safety. How will this collaboration be prioritized over finger pointing to create a safety culture? We asked that question. We were very concerned. And lastly, accountable governance. Will there be a commitment to quarterly public audits covering contracts, vendors, ridership, workforce opportunities, housing, outcomes by rail and by zip code? So we too asked those questions. So we did get answers. We're very, I won't say proud, but we realized that there's a lot of work to do with the answers. So regarding education, like I said before, today CMS students and senior citizens benefit from half price and full price fares. The bus network will be the backbone of the transit system, and they will have committed to expand bus routes and microtransit by 50% in 5 years and improve 2,000 stops within 10 years. Additionally, nearly all CMS students will be within a 10-minute walk of improved bus service. That doesn't happen today, folks. We don't have CMS students. Bus service isn't available for CMS students today. So we feel that that was a big win for the community. Workforce development. A coalition of the City, County, Charlotte Alliance, FFTC, UNC, Charlotte Works, CPCC, CELC, Knight Foundation, and Leading on Opportunity for CMS are already collaborating on a framework for job seekers and small businesses to access existing and new programs. Expanded training and capacity building and leveraging existing programs to support small business has already been happening. We also got in writing promises that large horizontal construction firms are actively engaged in discussions to mentor, partner with smaller local and minority-owned businesses, creating pathways for protege models and economic business participation. Let's talk about housing. The City of Charlotte's 2024 Housing Bond investment priorities focus on home buyers, low-wage workers, households at risk for displacement, and vulnerable population. This $100 million bond investment includes $49 million targeted specially for anti-displacement, in addition to $35 million in new affordable housing creation. Future housing bond ballots initiatives could expand these investments. The community has strongly supported housing bonds for the last election cycle. Next pillar, investing in underserved communities, mobility, food access, healthcare, and safety. City commitments include investments in sidewalks, lighting, pedestrian safety, transit accessibility, and roads in needs of investment areas. We have a commitment to raise awareness with public-private partners regarding the issue of food deserts and fresh food options in the community. And what you see is already in place is strengthening community safety, increased security on the light rail is already underway, and the new authority will oversee all safety measures. Regarding governance, accountability, and community voice, so across all of the cities and towns, Mecklenburg County requires seeking ridership representation and focus on reflecting the voice of the community. That means us, right? So I encourage all of you, as I've encouraged my members, to apply for the Metropolitan Transit Board. It is our voice. I believe the city has 12 seats available for the community and the county has 6. You should apply for both the county and the city. If you do live in any of the towns has 1 seat each, I believe. You should apply, everybody. We can only make the change if we're at the table. So in conclusion, we as the caucus felt that this plan is a plan that is built on opportunity. A couple of words of reflection that I heard from several members. First of all, 80% of the ridership of mass transit here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg is Black. I don't know most of you all, but I would guarantee most of you all drove here today. Riding the train this referendum is good for folks that ride the train. They are our people. 80% of our people, that's a wrong analogy. 80% of the ridership, which is Black, will benefit from this plan. This is for Black people. Let's not make any mistake. It's not a cure-all. It doesn't fix everything that is wrong with Charlotte today. But it is a start, and it gives people an opportunity to move out of their corridor for better education, for better jobs, for better health care. I'm a New Yorker. I moved to Charlotte 20 years ago. And I was able to get out of my Brooklyn hood because of mass transit, right? I was able to get on the train, a little girl from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and walk down Fifth Avenue. I was supposed to be in school, but that's another story, right? But I was able to see the Gucci store, the this store, the that store. I was able to go to better doctors in Manhattan. So, and that's just a point of personal reflection. And so I'll turn it over to my colleagues.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Great. So, again, for the Housing Justice Coalition, it is our position that we are against the transit plan and the 1% sales tax increase. And the fundamental reason, I would say, our fundamental argument that we would like to make to you today is that
this really isn't a transit plan. This is a plan for real estate development, capital investment, and economic development, disguised as a transit plan. Looking at the way in which this will operate, looking at the 1 cent sales tax, who it will impact, looking at, again, the authority that this plan will create, and actually piecing apart some of the details of the plan in terms of what it proposes, how it proposes to improve transit, we believe ultimately that it's going to result in displacement, and it's going to turbocharge gentrification. But ultimately, I don't think the plan actually is what is being presented to the public. I think the plan, like many things, is about capital investment and economic development and such. So we'll get into some of those things, and I'll sort of walk you through why we've arrived at this particular conclusion. So first of all, just a little bit about the plan. The referendum proposes a 1 cent sales tax increase. It is a regressive tax, meaning that it hits everybody the same way. So the people that ride the bus, the people that rely on the transit system the most, 80% of Black people, are the people that will pay the most disproportionately for this. This is a tax on clothes, prepared food, toys, entertainment, and motels. When you look at it, it's a 1 cent increase, but when you look at effectively the tax increase, I believe it's about a 14.2% increase overall. This amounts to about $240 a year on average. Also, one aspect about the plan is that if the plan is based on the PAVE Act, which is the state act that creates the new transit authority and requires the 1 cent sales tax increase. No construction of new rail service, meaning the Silver Line, Gold Line, can start until the Red Line is 50% complete. That's actually mentioned in the actual act. So those of you who've been following the Red Line, going up to the north, Huntersville, know that there's a lot of work left to be done on the Red Line. So we're talking about their promises of improved transit and access, but this is something that will take years and years and years to actually happen under a best case scenario. So getting into it, why this plan will cause displacement and turbocharge gentrification. So first of all, we have to talk a little bit about who the authors of the PAVE Act are. It's Larry Shaheen and Ned Curran. If any of you know who Larry Shaheen and Ned Curran are, Larry Shaheen is a real estate lawyer and a GOP strategist, and Ned Curran is a real estate developer, former real estate developer. They both have ties to the Real Estate Building Industry Coalition, and I would also say the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance, which has put about $3 million into a PR campaign to get people to vote for this tax referendum. So we need to know who the people actually writing this and putting this language together actually are and what their economic interests are. We know that for many of the people who are in this room have been a part of past sort of, we could call them community struggles against the developer lobby, pushing for affordable housing, pushing for community-driven development. And so we don't believe that a plan that's authored by these particular people is going to be in the interest, particularly of Black working class people. The PAVE Act, which creates the sales tax referendum, when it came about, community advocates pushed for anti-displacement dollars and anti-displacement measures to be included in the PAVE Act. The final version of the bill excludes that. Again, this is a deliberate policy choice that's being made at the state level. So that, I think, again, tells you what this is really about and whose interests it ultimately will serve. This plan, even in a best case scenario, given what I said about the Red Line, will expand railways, which will result in increased luxury development, like along the Blue Line. So you have the Red Line, it's going to go north, you have the Silver Line, which is in West Charlotte. And so just a few, we all know the story of the Blue Line kind of as a quote unquote a lost chance, but in reality it wasn't a lost chance. It did exactly what it was intended to do, which was to, again, generate economic profit, economic investment, development, and we know the end result of that. So from 2010 to 2020, the Blue Line saw a 51% increase in the white population, kind of along the Blue Line. And then from 2010 to 2020, in certain areas it's even worse. In the Wilmore neighborhood, the white population increased by about 220%. The Black population decreased by about 40%. So we see, I mean, we talk about transit and we talk about, like development, but we know that transit, of course, is tied to economic investment, which, based on the way things have been done up until now, maybe suddenly it'll be different, has resulted in the displacement of historically African American communities. Excuse me. And so I think that speaks to the concerns about gentrification. I think the next issue that we have is that there's an issue of transparency in that this plan creates a new transit authority that that we believe will not be accountable to citizens. And so the reason we say that, okay, so right now there currently is a Metropolitan Transit Authority, which is entirely made up of elected officials. Whatever is said, we know that the new transit authority will not entirely be made up of elected officials, but will be made up of appointees. Now, we kind of have to look at what the process of appointment looks like. Certainly people can apply, but I think based on how we know Charlotte operates, and again, the authors of this plan, and I think the intent behind this plan, I think it's very likely that the business development interests will likely dominate the transit authority. And I think there's also just a broader question of the transit authority being accountable in terms of its decision making. Under the payback, the transit authority will control 60% of the revenue that would be generated from this sales tax, from the 1 cent increase. It would also be in charge of decision making around investment and these particular things, and making decisions around transit. There will be the creation of a separate police force that would be accountable to this particular transit authority. Personally, and I think from the housing justice perspective, we don't think that a police force that's not necessarily accountable to public entities is a good thing, but we understand, people may have different thoughts on that. I think also as well, I have to mention this particular example. So yesterday, city council meeting, Councilwoman Molina in District 5, who has been voted out, there's a bit of a controversy where basically she made it known that she was going to apply to be on the authority, but she is also one of the people participating in the appointment process, or the process of selecting people to be on this authority. And Ed Driggs, who's also a city councilman, and the city attorney said that this is not a conflict of interest. Now, I raise this example to show you what's written on paper versus how this actually will work in the real world, in terms of who can be on this authority and issues of accountability. I just think that this is something we really have to look at and pay attention to. And I don't think this really bodes well for this entire process and what's being proposed in this particular sales tax referendum. And I think there's also just a general note in terms of how this process has happened up until now. It's come from the payback, and it's largely been rubber stamped by the county commissioners. But there hasn't, at least up until now, there hasn't really been a lot, I think, of transparency and discussion around this process, and really for communities to be able to understand what this is really going to do. Because this transit authority transit authority for transit will more or less be taken away from municipalities, or the municipalities will delegate a lot of that authority to this transit authority. So for instance, if you have communities that want community benefits, say along the Silver Line, or along other proposed projects within this plan, I think it'll be much harder for communities to be able to advocate and push for that. Because at the end of the day, the decision will be left to this authority. And we believe that it'll likely, the sort of business community will likely have an over-representation on this particular authority. So the last thing is that I think we have to also look at what the plan actually promises to deliver for communities. And I think that, and I think we want to acknowledge that, of course, expansion of bus shelters, reducing wait times, all of those things are very, very good things. But the first thing I would say is that, number one, we don't necessarily need this particular sales tax increase, and this particular plan to be able to do that. The city does have the ability to do that in other ways, which I'll get into. But the first thing is microtransit. So yes, microtransit, I think, is something that will be beneficial in a lot of ways, but microtransit is very expensive. And so once this plan, I think there's a commitment to increase it within 5 years, but once this really starts, like the money to continue microtransit has to be there, it has to be found somewhere. And you need some sort of either state subsidy or an increased federal subsidy. By the way, this plan requires like a 22%, I think, federal subsidy. That's not guaranteed, but it's promised if the sales tax is adopted. But in order to continue microtransit, you would need basically some other source of funding for it because it is very expensive. So I think that also raises the question of where that money comes from ultimately. I suspect that what that means is down the line, the fares will likely have to be increased. And I think this is actually in line with New York City, with the MTA, and the way in which fares, anybody that takes the subway knows that fares have continually increased. So I think the other thing is that, of course, right now, it is a good thing to have 15-minute wait times, but one issue is that because over time stops have decreased in areas with high ridership in historically Black neighborhoods, what that means is more of the stops are along the main thoroughfares. And so people basically will have a longer walk time in order to be able to get to the areas where they would be able to access microtransit. And I think my understanding is microtransit in a lot of ways will operate like a rideshare program. So it's like you have different people, you have different people. So you don't really know necessarily what your commute time will be, but regardless of what the benefits of it are, I think there's a question of sustainability with the way it's written now. And so I think also, and again, another issue is when we look at the way in which the Silver Line would actually run. So the Silver Line won't actually go all the way to the airport as far as we know based on the proposed plans. It would go very close and you would still have to take a bus or take some sort of shuttle to be able to get there. I think another issue is that you don't have like a central kind of station in downtown Charlotte that would be constructed. If I'm wrong on this, anybody just correct me. So the reason I bring these particular examples up, particularly in reference to transit, is because I think if you're trying to build an integrated transit system, I went to law school in New York, this is what I went to CUNY actually, so it's like, if you're trying to build an integrated transit system, you want to be able to connect Center City and downtown to the airport, and you want to be able to connect it to different neighborhoods. But I think when you look at this particular plan, I don't think it actually accomplishes that. So again, it begs the question, well, what is this ultimately really about? So again, for us, looking at all of these things and taking these factors into consideration, we believe that this is a plan that is for big business and by big business. We believe that it is being advertised to the public as something that it really is not. And we believe that ultimately, this is another example of African American communities in Charlotte being asked to vote for something that is going to cause our own displacement and our loss of access to the city, as we've seen with the Blue Line, as we've seen with other things in the past. So based on that, we urge you to vote against the sales tax increase, and we really want the city to go back to the drawing board, maybe consider a quarter sales tax increase to maybe effectuate the changes that we need and the improvement to buses, because that's going to benefit the most people. And like Braxton Winston in an interview with Joe Bruno kind of talked about that and how that could happen. So I just want to say that there are alternatives, but we just don't believe that this is it for these reasons. Thank you.
So, can I just say a few things?
Just
No rebuttal.
Oh, no rebuttal, okay.
let me ask, how many questions do we have? Because we indicated we'd go until 9:15. 1, 2. Shamir, was your hand up?
No.
2. We have 2 questions. All right, we can go with that 9:15 time. Ken, and then I saw another hand.
I'm sorry that I was late and didn't get your name, but in all of my experience and years of coverage and observation of variety of bonds and so forth, this is the most extensive, the most in-depth, reasonable, and rational opposition that I've ever heard presented in Charlotte Mecklenburg about anything. So my question to you is, based on the strength of what you have presented here today, would you and the caucus or any other people, including former mayors, current mayors, or others, be willing to entertain a formal debate on this issue?
I can answer my call, because it was back then. So, at this time, so the Black Political Caucus is a get out the vote organization, as you all well know, right? And we are in the height of our endorsement process. So we have other work that we have to do. We've made a decision as a body, and we are for the endorsement. However, as I stated previously, we are still open for discussion. My colleague talked a lot about what ifs, right? And he mentioned the airport. The airport is probably the largest employer, or one of the largest employers of Black people in Charlotte. There's no bus service that gets these people, who are minimum wage workers in some case, to their job. They get to the Renaissance Hotel or the Renaissance Community over there on West Boulevard, and some people have to walk. So for all of that, we are for the referendum.
The question was,
So I think from our perspective, we'd be willing to have a conversation or call it a debate, whatever you want, with whomever will be willing to talk to us. Because a lot of the reason that we're here and we're doing this is because we want the public to make an informed decision. Like, obviously we have an agenda and we're pretty straightforward and transparent about what that is. But at the end of the day, the voters have to choose. And that's a democratic process. So we just want people to be informed. So any kind of conversation around this issue, and I would say the broader issues it connects with, is always welcomed on our side.
Okay, here we go. First of all, thank you guys for being here. I know this is a real contentious issue, and there are lots of good, valid points that have been made. I am against this whole transit tax. If you heard anything I've said before, I do not think this is for Charlotte, even the Black people in Charlotte. But I just like to know from you, ma'am, Ms. Nolly, can you just explain at least one major point of the transit governance interlocal agreement, the original, the first amended transit governance interlocal agreement, and the second amended transit governance agreement? Can you just explain one major point of each?
I'm not sure what you're talking about, the governance agreement. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The payback, what we originally said that, and what the gentleman said they changed.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't speak on that. I'm not aware of that. Thank you. We did that. I'm sorry, I don't know. If you know, I don't, anybody here?
I'm not sure if you're referring to the payback. I mean, I did make some points about the payback as well, but if we don't know, we can always follow up and get more information.
I was talking about the changes that they made, the initial.
Okay.
Oh, from in the state legislature? Okay, yes.
No, the transit governance interlocal agreement was the agreement that was signed into the half-cent tax. So back in 1999, when the half-cent tax referendum came up for transportation for Mecklenburg County, that was approved. As a result of that approval, the transit governance interlocal agreement was signed by the mayors of the counties of Mecklenburg, and of course, the chairperson of the Mecklenburg County Board of Commission. And in that agreement, the MTC was formed. So that is the origin of all of our transit issues. Before then, we had a bus system that worked. In that agreement, the governance of Charlotte Transit, which it was known back then, was given over to this MTC. So for the past 26 years, the governance or management of Charlotte Area Transit, which the name changed then, has been under the MTC. So any problems or successes have been on the MTC. And the fact that the Black Political Caucus has no idea what the Transit Governance Interlocal Agreement is of concern. Because if we don't know our history And I'm sure everyone in here understands that if you don't know your history, you are doomed to repeat it. And this, to me, because of what you just answered, this seems to me like a redo of what's going to happen.
Okay. You're entitled to your opinion, sir. In all fairness, Ray, I am the chair of the organization. This work is done in committee. I don't know if they discussed that, but it was not a part of their decision-making factor here. So that's unfair. That's an unfair statement. It is, because that was not considered in our decision-making factor. And I'm sorry, we didn't discuss that, and I'm not aware of that. But I'm happy to do the research and come back to you with an answer, but you seem very well versed in it, so.
Okay, thank you so much. We don't have any other questions. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to just respond to the gentleman, but I can.
Yes, you can, and we'll give you 1 minute, okay? Thank you. Good to have you here.
Thank you. This is
It's on.
It's on.
Introduce yourself, Representative.
Thank you all. My name is Representative Becky Carney, and I'm in the House now. Just to say my colleague is here too. Do what? Okay. I was on the county commission back when this whole plan was developed. And I was the one that, of the county commissioners, we all voted to put the referendum on the ballot. And at that point in time, this authority was developed, and it included, it was part of the plan, right? The people were voting on was to develop this metropolitan authority, transit authority. When that was developed, it included, and it was done by elected officials. It was done by the mayor who serves on it, and then representatives from the city, the county, and all the towns represented in the counties. At that point in time, every mayor had signed on to the transit tax, to support it, except one community, and that was Pineville. They did not come to the table at that point in time. So fast forward to where we are today. I always felt like if this is gonna be a train, you don't just stop a train at a county line, you know. I've always felt it should expand to a regional approach. And so with this new proposal that is before the community, this authority was put into the PAVE Act in Rome. That they would develop an authority that would not be run by elected officials. It would have the community representation from across the county on that governance board. That's how it transitioned. So all these years, there was another part in that plan that I supported. I went to, before the county ever voted, I went to all the mayors to see.
Yes, you had 1 minute.
I went to all the mayors, and that's when I found out Pineville was not on board. And the one issue they had was this authority, when it was appointed. They had an issue with the fact that it was going to be 20 years before they ever went to the legislature to get the approval to move ahead with the regional. That was always in the plan. Here we are, and that did not come to fruition.
Excuse me, Becky.
I'm sorry.
Can y'all probably do
Yeah.
this offline?
But we're here 30 years later, and we're finally getting a regional authority option for the county community. It's hard to wrap it up. I'm glad
Thank you so much. For those of you who came in late, you did not hear that we would have the speaker speak. I indicated initially 5 minutes, but the additional time was needed, and it's appreciated. And we also indicated there would be, at 9:15, we'd end the question and answer, and then we will start going around the room roundtable. Each person will have the opportunity to speak for 1 minute regarding the 1 cent tax. If you need strips of paper to write your questions down, your statements down. You can come to get them, or we'll get them to you. And we also have pens and pencils up here to help you. I also want to let you know that 70 persons, if this referendum passed, 70 persons have already applied to be on this board. So we're going to start on this side. You have 1 minute. If you have your phones, you can time yourselves. Otherwise, we will call the time on. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm Kimberly Owens. I'm running for Charlotte City Council in District 6. My comments will be brief. I will simply say that I am going to be voting for it. The people with whom I've spoken in District 6 are very strategic about their approach to it. A number of businesses have employees who honestly cannot afford to live in District 6 with the housing prices the way that they currently are, and are employed in District 6 and are experiencing difficulty coming to work on time, having predictable schedules. You can drive through South Charlotte in the midst of a rainstorm and you can see people who are standing, literally women holding their high heels in their hands under an umbrella because we don't have sufficient bus shelter in District 6. So I will be voting for my district, although I am clear-eyed and keen on the number of things that are have been expressed here that are negative about this plan. I'm very hopeful that I will be in a leadership position to be able to bring some good judgment to some of the things that will make this more practical.
And you don't need to stand, it kind of messes up the camera.
I will sit there.
Yeah, I know, but you don't need to stand. Yes.
Okay. Morning, everyone. LaWanna Mayfield, a current serving on City Council at large. No, I would not be supporting it. Yes, a couple of us went to Boston last week and looked at what they did with how they attack their transportation needs. They have 5 different sources of income coming in, including the fact that they created a millionaire's tax / fair share tax, along with they receive state funding, a MSD, as well as they are able to issue their own revenue bonds, and they receive federal dollars, and they're still underperforming. So for me, listening to a good majority of the community, I have a concern of the idea of a 27-member board when around the region, there is no board that size. The largest is about 15 to 17, and with the General Assembly already identifying who they are putting on the board, this is very much going to be a corporate board. Yes, it is noted that the city of Charlotte has 12 seats. We do not, because the General Assembly also put in that language that 2 of those seats go to the Greater Alliance, 1 of those seats go to Foundation for Carolinas. We got 7.
I pass.
Well, of course. I am against it for what has been said today. I think that you're just way ahead of what needs to be done. We need buses first, not more light rail. The partial tax of maybe 0.4% or something that's not the 1%, I think can do buses, but what good is the light rail if I can't get to it? And right now, if you live on W.T. Harris near North Lake to maybe Tryon, there are no buses. You can't get to a light rail. No way, there aren't buses. We need to put more buses so more people that look like me can get to the light rail. Great.
Good morning, I'm Representative Julia Greenfield, and I'm serving my first term in the state legislature. And I voted in the state legislature to make sure that this referendum was on the ballot, because I believe that you all need to have a voice. And I am still deciding. I'm still doing homework. I'm still asking questions. I'm still listening, which is why I'm here today. And I'm still trying to make up my mind. I lean towards supporting it because I believe it hopefully is a first step in a very growing city and a growing county that can move us in the right direction, but it is certainly not perfect. So I'm still in that decision process, but I really appreciate you guys being here and sharing your thoughts and representing your community. Thank you.
I'm just gonna add a quick, just another quick comment. I voted in Raleigh to put this on the ballot. We have had several communities there to want issues across the state to be able to have a referendum and let the people at the local level decide. First and foremost, that was what my vote was based on, was to let it come here and let the community decide. And this is an incredible discussion this morning. And that's why I'm here today, trying to hear other parts of the community now that we're back in Charlotte and Raleigh. I'm leaning towards supporting it, I am supporting it because I know the vision that started back in '99. Has it had hiccups? Yes. It has taken 30 years ago is when that happened. 30 years for us to get to an opportunity to have a regional authority. It's a county-wide that will expand down the road to region so that this can become, we're a center of the region, and that's my vote.
Good morning, my name is Addie Karen. I live in District 4. I'm a firm believer of what the gentleman said. You know, if you don't know your history, you're gonna repeat it. Even though it's a 1 cent tax, in essence, it accumulates to be in the hundreds. Those same people that you're saying that you're gonna help, it's gonna cost them too. And their income is not, it doesn't even look anywhere close to most of us that are sitting in here. Thanks for
As I'm Carrie Nelson, I am definitely still working on a decision. I think that transportation is extremely important in a city like Charlotte, growing city. But there are problems, and I think I am not versed on how the committee will be chosen, so that is a concern I have as well.
Good morning. I'm Darnell Ivory. I'm going to be all over the place in 1 minute. But I ride the bus, and there is some wait time. And I'm a senior citizen, so I get the discount passes as well. But in the process of also driving, you know, other things have to be fixed. Potholes, poor conditions of our roads are littered, covered in trash. Bus stop shelters, depends on where you live, what kind of shelters provided. On my street, 5th Street, there is no place to sit, so the people sit on top of the trash cans as they wait for the bus. But along Vegasford Road and Trade Street, where the light rail runs, they do have very nice shelters, but sometimes they're inundated with people who are homeless, and those shelters aren't maintained like they should be. This morning, I was at the airport, 4 o'clock this morning, dropping off friends. I saw one of those employees walking to work along that 85-77 ramp that I was about to take.
Good morning. I'm Ricky Hall, community leader in West Boulevard, Carter, area that would be certainly impacted by the Silver Line. We've already been impacted by the Blue Line. And I would say that we have not waited for the notion of displacement to bring forth the need for a area-specific anti-displacement strategy. And I would certainly hope that the community would take a look at that as a starting point to say, yes, this needs to be included in this transit plan before we even get to an implementation standpoint. And that's my comment.
I'll pass.
Good morning, I'm Rachel Baker.
I have been a transit attorney for years. In fact, I was, and am no longer, an attorney for CATS. And one of the things I wanted to say was, to be clear, transit is really important, but I will say this referendum does have its issues, but what I wanted to offer for consideration is rail, I think, really has to be a strategy for long-term growth, for long-term management of population growth. And what you end up doing the longer something takes is you end up prohibiting rail just based on price prohibitions. You end up with additional condemnations. You end up making it so that rail that would have otherwise happened can no longer. And maybe it's worth it. Maybe in your considerations it's worth it. But I just wanted to offer that.
Good morning, Robin Evans, the unaffiliated candidate running in the Charlotte City Council District 3 race. My stance on this issue has been evolving as I've been participating in many conversations. I want to thank Ishmael for his comments today because it's given me a fuller view of my stance and my position. I am leaning to no. I think that we need to have a conversation around living wages and anti-displacement measures, as Ricky Hall mentioned here. So those are my concerns and why I'm leaning toward the no.
Good morning, I'm Louise Woods, and have always supported the transit, but I just have some pretty clear questions to be answered before I can decide how to go. So I'm just going to have a few questions just hanging out there. How will we know that it isn't just planning state transportation funds? It's one of my biggest concerns. The state continues to take away from the county. It's not y'all, it's not your fault, but we have to do with the legislature. How will we have any assurance that the present silver line and the gold line that go east will actually ever be considered in this? We know we're guaranteed that half of the line going north, and it's needed, but half of it will be done. There are no guarantees that I can hear otherwise. How will we know that it will go directly to the airport to have the concerns we expressed? Will it have regional financial support? Again, I support regional, but if we're paying for it, yeah.
Hard no. My name is Gerald Patton, and I live in District 5. I guess my biggest issue now at this point is that the plan continues to somewhat change. I know there's a big issue now over safety, and now we're hearing about the transit police. I'm confused about what they're going to take out of the plan if we're going to have to fund the transit police authority at this point. The other concern I have is regarding the 15-minute bus rides. To me, it seems like we're putting more traffic on the streets with additional buses if they're coming every 15 minutes in some of these high traffic areas. So those are my concerns.
Good morning, Leonard Martin. Policy and messaging are key, and I'm happy that, in fact, we heard that 1 cent is not the proper message, that we're talking about 1%, and what the effective rate of taxation will be is critical, and it should be included in this discussion. Worked in Atlanta, lived in Atlanta, Washington, D.C. as a part of my work with federal government, state government, and I found from the Center for Civic Innovation just 3 items to share. Accountability and oversight are critical. You must ensure equitable distribution of funds to avoid the project delays. Comprehensive planning is essential, and equitable delivery prevents social harm. This equitable spending that should be happening cannot in any way disadvantage poor and socioeconomically disadvantaged communities.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Bodrick. I do not have a confirmed decision I came here actually to gather information, and right now, to be honest, my head is kind of spinning. But I will definitely make a decision before I leave here. And I thank you all very much for your information and for the discussion.
I just want to say a couple of things. History, ignorance, and who are we really looking out for, okay? History, if we don't know our history, we're doomed to repeat. I respect if you've only been here 20 years, you need to go back a little further and get caught up. Ignorance, just to be honest with everyone, if you have not read the PAVE Act, if you have not read the Transit Governance Interlocal Agreement, then you need to read it in order to have an informed opinion. There's no way about it, okay? Because it's all there. The third thing, who we're really looking out for. I've heard that this is for Black people. I've heard that this is for Charlotte. If it is, then why are we going to put $9 billion into a commuter train, not a light rail, a commuter train into northern Mecklenburg County, where it's going to service 125,000 people, when we had a plan back in 1997 for a wheel and spoke transit system that would alleviate the congestion in Charlotte. Here we are 30 years later, that would have been finished, but because the MTC that was approved and formed back in 1997 said, no, that's not the plan. So again, history, ignorance.
Good morning. Good morning. Two things can be true at the same time, and thank you both for your presentation. I'm a yes, but, and I've been very consistent for the last year and a half. I think the process really is an interesting one that I had some faults with. Two, there's no language about displacement. And I've confirmed that this bill needed language about displacement of small businesses and communities. Third, there's no language about the utilization of minority businesses that not only construction related, but also professional services. And thirdly, the authority itself, right? And the council will make appointments to the authority. Ishmael, you need to apply for the authority because we need individuals that will keep individuals in this process honest.
Time.
Good morning, my name is Dialva Arnold. I am a paid consultant with the Yes for Make campaign. There is no price on my integrity, however, so I do believe everything that I'm saying. Very involved in the plan and the projects and the details. This is a countywide plan where there are no buses, there will be microtransit. So bus, railroads covers the entire county. There are 157 people that move here every day. So we need an infrastructure that will carry us into the future. Jobs will be created for people who need them, and we will have transit to be able to get them to the jobs. $120 is the commitment to people in poverty. I'd like to change the conversation to how do we get them to jobs so they can afford $120. And so this is, what's regressive is to force people to live in a car-dependent society. So they need transportation and public transportation. Microtransit, where bus doesn't pick up, microtransit will pick up where buses doesn't carry. There are currently $44 million for anti-placement, displacement dollars that are approved by the city council. We need more in the fund. Council member, we need more money in the funds for that. This is a plan that includes roads, thank you. And tonight there is a public information session at 6 p.m. At Goodwill Opportunity Zone. So please come out and hear the details about the plan. Thank you.
Doug Jones, I am in support of the plan. It's imperfect, but I come from DC. I've spent time in Atlanta, and if we continue to wait, what do we do?
Hi, my name is April Lewis. I'm basically in the middle. I'm just trying to get more information, but I do have a lot of concerns about anything dealing with anti-displacement or the lack of, and gentrification. As being a housing justice organizer, I can see both sides of this issue, but I also know someone not having a home to be able to go to is a is a very big issue in not having funds, or with these funds so-called allotted to displacement. What are the organizations that are going to use it? What is the plan of access for it? What are the tenant protections that's going to make sure that my job is not hard when we actually have this in place? Because yes, we need transportation, but we also need somewhere to live to well that we can afford, as well as a living income. And I think there's more work that can be done, so I'm trying to learn more about it.
How's it going? Rob Yates. I'm the Libertarian Party candidate for mayor of Charlotte. I'm adamantly opposed to this. The party is adamantly opposed. We will be recommending to all of our members to vote against. If something costs $7.50 today and $8.50 tomorrow, the dollar increase, it's a 14% increase. This is not a 1% increase, it is a 14% increase. The people that this will affect are the ones who can least afford it. Right now, we're in a near hyperinflationary environment. Life has gotten so expensive, and we're just taking money from people who don't have it. That's a guarantee. All of the upsides of the plan are promises. We're betting, we're hoping. So we can hope that somehow, this works, given the history of transportation initiatives in Charlotte. I'm less hopeful, or we can know that we're gonna take money out of pockets from people who can't afford it.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Desmond Wiggin, local business owner. Grew up in Charlotte, so over the last 35 years have been able to see it evolve. Also have exposure internationally in just initiatives like this. And I just had a few points. Obviously, just trying to make sure that we see both sides of the table, understanding the consequences of decisions on both sides of the table as well, how that affects productivity and the involvement of the city, and also the impact on generations of the future. And then lastly, just even if it does get passed and it does go through, how are we holding the voices accountable, and how are we measuring that as well?
I got my timer on. Hello everyone, my name is Morris Mackey. I'm a local attorney here. I actually live on the north side of Charlotte. My office is in Uptown. That may be the reason why I was a little late here today, because I'm also running a campaign which probably those advisors will say you should shut up about this. But I will just say this at the time that I have. I don't think, and I think that you would be naive to believe that we will ever get a bill that has to be stamped by the Republican legislature that's perfect for our community. I look at a situation of, do we get something or do we absolutely do nothing? And we know we're a growing town, or a growing city. And with that in line, I'm not sure exactly where we're at. Me and my wife go back and forth. She's from New York, so she has a different view than I was. But at this particular time, I'm not sure exactly we can ever get back and get something better than this.
Good morning, Lawrence Brinson, and I'm not here to try to persuade anybody which way to vote, but I do want to caution people as we have these conversations to think about how we refer to residents in Huntersville, Davidson, or Cornelius. Everyone in those areas do not live on the lake. And I just need people to understand that when they have these conversations. Think about the people that were around what used to be Torrance-Final High School, Ada Jenkins, Pottstown. So just be considerate of how we talk to or talk about residents in the northern part of Mecklenburg County, because they really are cut off. So just consider that in the conversations.
Oh, yeah, hi, I'm Mary Ramsey. I'm just here as a reporter, so I'm just a neutral observer.
I'm Ricky Mitchell, and I'm still on the fence.
Hello, my name is Samir Hamid. I almost made the ballot for mayor as an unaffiliated candidate or business owner here. Lifelong resident in Charlotte. As a business owner, I'm told that this is like a business-friendly tax, that this will bring more, opportunities for us to grow our economy. My only concern is that businesses are nothing without their talent, and I'm a big advocate for Charlotte homegrown talent. And, the displacement element of it is a big concern, because you know, if we reset the baseline without any, you know, if we do it recklessly, then a lot of people get left out, and it'll look like it's some, you know, standardized tax for everybody, but certain people are going to be affected more, and I don't want to leave that out. So I want to have, you know, more inflow of businesses, but I think that Charlotte can have their pick of the litter with whatever businesses treat its people the best.
From the White House to the outhouse, the political climate suggests that a lot of that blue sky and BS that you all are talking about, how it's going to affect people, is just that, blue sky, because a lot of it is not going to be guaranteed. Furthermore, if you look into the specifics and more of the details of what has been presented here today by the opposition, those of you who may be either sitting on the fence or those of you who may be in favor of, and like her, I'm unbiased observer. I suggest that you go back and rethink your positions, but more importantly, call for and insist upon a debate wherein he has an opportunity to present to the electorate what he has presented here today. Because a lot of that blue sky and BS is 20 years down the road, if that. So please consider the fact that we need more in-depth discussion about this.
Hey y'all, I'm Jesse Oppenheim. I'm running for Congress out in the 8th District against Mark Harris. There are a lot of very good arguments against, especially based in history, especially about the regressive tax nature of this. However, some of you, especially Councilwoman Mayfield, remember I got into this after moving to Charlotte and seeing a young woman, it shouldn't be important, but based on discussions of race, it was a black mother, pushing a stroller through South Boulevard because there wasn't pedestrian pathways that hadn't been considered or baked into the plan. And one thing that I think does need to be considered as we think about this transportation bill is that it also takes into account pedestrian pathways. It also takes into account reflective paint on the roads, which help reduce car crashes. I have seen far too many times ambulances stuck in traffic jams trying to get people to safety. Yes, this is a deeply flawed and imperfect plan, but the current status quo that we have is not sustainable.
Good morning, everybody. Ricky Robbins, candidate for sheriff, native Charlottean, and just want to remind everybody there's a very short window before we vote on this, whether we are for or against it. We need to make sure we do our homework, and your vote will matter in this matter.
Good morning. I'm Rodney Collins. I'm also a candidate for Mecklenburg County Sheriff. I support the plan. I live in an unincorporated area in Mecklenburg County that used to be quiet, that is now oversaturated with development. So the projects in terms of roadway as it pertains to how it specifically impacts my area and where I live is very, very positive. However, I do agree, and like the information that has been presented this morning, that the plan is not perfect, and it does have its flaws. But I do support it. Thank you.
Robert Collins, good morning. I have a lot to say on this. I have not made a final decision yet, but I will say this to the people of the city. I'm from Chicago, lived in DC, lived in Nashville before it is what it is today. And the reality of it is this gentrification thing that we keep talking about, this displacement thing that we keep talking about, it's happening. It's already started, and it's not going to stop. So don't sell your stuff. Don't sell your stuff so that somebody can't come in and then raise your taxes so that you can't afford your house. And then you won't talk about 1 cent for these roads. The roads have to change, one way or another. Kids are gonna get to school one way or another, but the city is going to grow. The more banks come in and the more tech comes in, the more the city is gonna grow, and wealthier people are gonna wanna move into the area that you live in. Don't sell your stuff. I haven't made a decision, but I'm assuming I will before I vote.
Good morning, Brandon Wolf. Like my colleague here, I haven't made a decision yet, but I do have a few thoughts. My concern is there seems to be a history of distrust around underestimating costs and overestimating what the tax can bill. My eyebrow raised when I heard that the red line has to be completed first. So when we see the impact on our communities, there's also a growing number of infrastructure issues that I've observed around the city. And I'm also concerned that there seems to be there seems to not be a federal funding match. In most instances, when a federal match is not pleasant, local taxpayers gonna have to share on the unreliable cost and estimate that will end up having us paying more burden. Not to mention, didn't the half-cent tax from 2018 get absorbed by higher operating costs? I'm not saying yes or no yet. I'm just wondering if other priorities can be met to improve existing infrastructure. Are there alternatives to service stopgaps? And how can we begin to focus on more immediate community needs in the in-between times, regardless of what's been decided?
Good morning, Holy. Want to go first?
You go ahead and then I'm gonna get.
Yes, ma'am. Coley, I live in District 1. $240 is a reasonable amount that I would be more than happy to part with if it meant like an equitable, good transit system for all. Based on the information presented today, I am not convinced. I will be voting no.
I'm Thomas Moore. Oh, what a beautiful morning. I am going to pass, but I have enjoyed the debate.
Mary. Okay, you can pick those two pass? Yes.
All right. Good morning. My name is Gary Young, for those who do not know. As a Charlotte native, the transit tax the transit plan is necessary. I think everything this brother stated is the way it's rolled out. We talk about the adverse effect it's going to have on Black people, but look at your city, look at your leadership. You have Black leaders. So who should you really be holding accountable for the board, just everything that occurs? We have some leaders who actually work at the behest of their constituents, return calls, touch base with them. Then we have some on a day-to-day basis who do not. And my thing is, if that's how they operate on a day-to-day basis, who are they gonna be beholden to at the end of the day? When we talk about the makeup of this board, if you can't, in your position of power, talk to everyday citizens and work at their behest, how can I expect you to make the best decisions for us from the larger picture? And that's where I have an issue, the way this plan will be rolled out.
I am in support of it. I'm for it. I am at a point where I hate driving in this city. And as I do drive through the city, I see no shelters at the bus stops. I don't even see a cement pad in many of the stops. I'm encouraged by the micro transit and that if I do need to use public transportation, I can get there, but I am in support.
And I am not in support of the transit tax for various reasons. And I like to work with the people in our community to make sure that all people are considered when we're doing something like this. And of course, we need to make sure we have the right representation. I echo what Gary has shared. We need to look at who's going to be leading this effort. And if we don't have that adequate representation that's going to make this happen, then we'll be left behind, as we have had to be left behind in years past.
Mary, I am a proud member of the Black Political Caucus. We had a vote and this transit tax support did pass. I always support
the will of the people with the Black Caucus, I do have some concerns. I want to make sure that we have the right people on this board, especially people who represent our constituents on the west side. I see a lot of people who are on the committee who are being paid who don't even live on the west side. They don't even have a dog in the fight, as they say. So I'm just concerned about that we have the right people who will speak up and represent those of us, because I do live on the west side. So I'm just concerned about that. And I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you so much. It's really been interesting. And Jocelyn and Ishmael, if y'all would like to take maybe a minute to parting words.
Again, I'm here representing an organization who celebrates its 60th year in advocacy for the Black people of Mecklenburg County. And we stand in support of this referendum. We've looked at a lot of concerns, and we do agree that it is not a perfect bill. We understand that. But I think, like Attorney McAdoo said, we have to start somewhere. We need better buses. We do need rail. We need to move people out of their neighborhoods so that they can get to better jobs, better health care. And we need to ensure that our students have better access to transportation so that they can take advantage of educational opportunities around the city. So I stand behind the Black Political Caucus and ask you all to join us as we do. Ballots will be in the mail next week in support of our other BPC candidates and vote yes for this referendum.
So again, I just really want to thank the organizers of the forum. It's an honor to be here. It's great to see the lively debate and discussion. I would just, there was one thing technical thing I wanted to mention, that the appointees for the Transit Authority have to have demonstrated experience in areas of law, finance, engineering, public transit, urban planning, logistics, government, architecture, or economic development. So I think that's a critical detail. And there's no requirement or stipulation for people that actually ride the bus or use transit as a necessity day to day to be on the board. But with that being said, I really think this comes down to, there are a lot of issues, accountability, what's been done in the past, history, the regressive tax, how it's gonna impact the community, what's the reality of life in Charlotte particularly for the Black community. I would say that, again, this is not a transit plan, but this is really a plan for economic development and capital investment in basically the few remaining Black parts of the city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn and Ishmael. We appreciate you being here today. Right now, we are going to, let me mention.
We should thank her.
Absolutely. Please forgive me, I thanked them, but I did not have all of you thank them. I appreciate it. I will now move toward making just a few announcements. If you'll just take 1 minute to make those announcements. The deadline to apply for this board is next Monday, the 13th, in case it should pass. And again, as many of you as possible, please go on and apply, since there are 70 persons who've already applied. And we want to vote, early voting, starting on the 16th next week. And we want to vote for not four, but we want to vote the ballot. So, and we'll now go into the announcements, but I also want to ask persons if you can help us put the room back together. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go this way so I'm not.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. I have two brief announcements. First, you should have received a flyer regarding a quarterly meeting with CMS partnership. And basically, everyone knows how important our children are. And we have guest speaker Maurice Mo Green, who is our state superintendent. Please sign up to attend that, and you need to RSVP by October 14th. There will be, we will be serving lunch. It will start at noon. So please, if you're interested, go ahead and attend. We are accepting 300, and I think we're already at 220. So please do that. The other is you received a card. If you didn't receive it, you'll receive it next week. But it's Rhythm and Blues, Jazz, Blues, and You. It's going to be held at the Carolina Theater on Thursday, November 13th, honoring the late attorney James E. Ferguson. Elizabeth Randolph, if you didn't know her, she was a very prominent educator. And Jimmy and Minnie McKee, who were the founders of the legendary Excelsior Club. The funds raised from this will go to what is needed, mental health for children, as well as the Black philanthropy, and as far as community and family engagement for Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. It is going to be a night to remember. So please, and the tickets are affordable. Thank you very, very much.
I'm gonna actually let Alexis make the announcement of the flyer that you all have, but one of the organizations that's on the education flyer will be hosting your second Tuesday. It's been a while since we've done it, but 7:30 next Tuesday, NC Black Alliance Advanced Carolina will be sponsoring the breakfast for the next Tuesday forum.
Thank you.
So if you guys are receiving the flyer that says you are invited, it has a bunch of yellow on it. That is our big education summit this Saturday. My name is Alexis. I work for the North Carolina Association of Educators. We are partnering with some other education advocacy orgs to put on a large-scale training for community members and parents to learn how to stand up for our schools, how to share your story, and just sharing some of those like organizing tools to get your community together to support our schools. We're talking a lot about ignorance today. We're talking a lot about change and uplifting our communities. And this is a space that we created to learn how to do some of those things and how to protect our children as they're getting their education. Thank you.
Good morning again. I invite you to join me this coming Sunday at 10 o'clock at Greater Bethel AMB Church. I will be the keynote speaker delivering the Sunday worship sermon. So the title is The Way Forward, and many of you wanted me to ask more about the book, and so I'll be speaking Sunday at 10 a.m. at Greater Bethel AMB Church. I would love each of you to come join me and join the church congregation as we worship together. Thank you.
The plaza?
Yes.
Good morning. I'm Louise Woods, and I don't see any of the flyers here today, but I have, there's a resolution from North State North Carolina, from League of Women Voters and 20 plus other organizations came together, a resolution in support of public schools, paying our teachers sufficiently, and supporting our students. If you have not had a chance to sign that resolution, I have a QR code right here. Just see me, you can pick it up, take it and sign it. And we have 5,500 or more. We're trying to get 2,000 and on up. Just keep it going so people get the information that we are not adequately, the pay for teachers is abysmal. 40.
Okay, I have an announcement on next Saturday, on this coming Saturday on the 11th. We're gonna have a twice as nice attic sale at the 2600 Batesville Road Memorial Presbyterian Church, where we'll have a blood drive as well as a hot dog sale. But we will be selling items at 2600 Memorial Presbyterian Church. from 8 o'clock until 2 o'clock on the 11th of October. Thank you.
Good morning. I do want to share one other event. For those of you who are interested in the facts and the details around the transportation plan and the referendum, tonight at Goodwill Opportunity Campus at 6 p.m., the city will be there to present. You can ask all of your questions directly there. And then also at Friendship Missionary Baptist Church at 6:30 on Thursday night. The same. Thank you.
I wanted to announce also about Friendship Missionary Baptist Church this Thursday. It's very important that you attend that if you're able. It starts at 6:30. And one of our speakers will be Mr. Robert Dawkins, along with, I think it is,
David Howard.
David Howard, right.
You got an announcement? Oh, yeah. Ms. Mayor?
They will be speaking on the transit tax.
I just wanted to announce that last week, the premier Black-owned coffee shop in Charlotte, Mecklenburg Archive at Vegas Ford Road celebrated its 3rd anniversary. And its owner presented here a couple of years ago. And so I invite all of you to go by, and as a matter of fact, you can join me after the meeting. And depending on who you are, I might even buy you a cup of coffee.
Boy, is it cold outside? It's freezing.
What did we get?
Good. Yeah, good morning again. I'm Ricky Mitchell. And on October the 19th, the International Minority Coalition is having a gala at 1610 Allegheny. And we would love for you all to come out and support. And because our mission is we're stronger together. We have 14 coalition countries that are members of the IMC. So if you want to really get your message out, come out and meet and greet and have some food and fun. We look forward to seeing you all.
Thank you. The thing that's on the top of my mind is that the idea that what's happening in occupied Palestine is a 3,000-year battle is just a bold-faced lie. It's a 77-year illegal occupation of an indigenous land, and we're watching the real life, live streamed erasure of that people and that culture. In the future, over 700,000 kids are missing school for the 3rd year in a row this year. There's an intentional destruction of the culture and the future of Palestine, and we're being marketed a bunch of nonsense about nonsense. So again, we're watching a live stream genocide, and especially any politician that won't call it that is a coward.
Good morning again, Ricky Robbins, candidate for sheriff. Everybody knows that I'm having an open group meet tonight at Mallard Creek Recreational Center on Johnson Naylor Road at 6 p.m. and you're all welcome to attend. Thank you.
Everybody know it.
Yeah. October 25th, Lit Fest is back. We're gonna be at Renaissance West. Bring out your families and your kids, learn everything about literacy that you can. There will be tools and resources there to increase the literacy rates of your young child. Renaissance West, Lit Fest is back, October 25th. West Boulevard.
I'm gonna hire you for some radio announcements.
Y'all, there's an amazing concert coming up at UNCC October 19th. The Daluna Orchestra will be playing. If you are curious about traditional Palestinian music and music from the Levant region, I would encourage you to come out. This is a fundraiser for displaced students from Gaza to continue their university education. So please come out and support. I have limited flyers, but if you'd like to bring one and share with your church, if anybody's interested in learning about more music from the Holy Land. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Just very quick announcement. So there is another forum or conversation on the transit tax. I will, full disclosure, this will probably lean toward vote no, but it is October 9th, hosted by Commissioner Susan Rodriguez-McDowell. October 9th, Thursday, 6 to 7:45. I'm trying to remember where it is. Let me see here. I think it might be at the Matthews Town Hall. So it's trying to make the address come out.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll come back to you.
All right.
Okay, we'll come back. It's always.
Send it to Steve.
Okay, I am asking all of you within the sound of my voice who are eligible to come join us in the Black Political Caucus. If you are concerned whether we know our history or how we come to our endorsements, if you want to be a part of the premier African-American organization in Charlotte, in Mecklenburg County, and probably in the state, please join us in 2026. Our current memberships expire in December. We're offering membership, I guess if you will, deals right now to join us and become a member and have your membership extend into the 2026 year. We have work to do with this referendum and more. So email us. Here we go. Email us and join us. Thank you. Yeah, you have my information.
Well, I just wanted to share the address. So it's going to be Christ the King Church, which is 13501 South Triumph Street, I believe. Yeah, but I'll send it out.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming today, and I'd like to announce that on the next Tuesday, where we're going to start the early morning breakfast at 7:30, our speakers will be the at-large candidates for City Council and Valeda Fullwood. Valeda will be doing the 5-minute after. But we look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much for coming, as I said. And please help us put the tables and chairs back together. Thank you. Have a great week.
One more announcement, our Christmas party will be held on December the 16th, and that will be the party that we'll go out of the year with, because we will not be reconvening until January. And expect a good party, a real festive party on the 16th of December. Please come back.